how did gravel racing become so popular and cyclocross just kind of falls off the face of the earth? I mean, how come cyclocross isn't just taking off? Now, I'm not talking about the bikes, the difference between a cyclocross bike and a gravel bike, and how the bottom bracket is a different position and the handlebars are wider and the gearing and the touring and all these different things. Those are for different videos. I'm talking about racing. Now, recently, what I was doing was I was on YouTube watching a video of a recent race called Big Sugar. And I was trying my best to get into it. And I just couldn't. Now, there are 7 events. They're called the Lifetime Grand Prix. And believe it or not, it's sponsored by Mazda, a car company. So there's some big money in this. There are 6 races. It first starts out with the Sea Otter Classic here in California. The second race is called Unbound, which used to be called Dirty Kansas. People got offended by the name, so that's why it changed to Unbound. I like the word unhitched, but I think that was taken. The third race is called Crusher in the Tusher, or Crusher in the Tusher. I'm not sure. I don't know how you're going to explain that at a dinner party. I mean, crush her in the Tusher? It's got to be Tusher. Fourth race is Leadville, where you win a belt buckle. I would love one of those. The fifth race is Chickamauga mountain bike race. The sixth race is called the Rad Dirt Festival. Anything with rad and dirt, I would love to be part of. And the seventh race is called Big Sugar. Big Sugar.
Wasn't Big Sugar Hugh Grant's little friend on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood in the 90s?
But anyway, so I'm watching the video. We're talking, this is high production. There was a helicopter following the Big Sugar race. They had interviews with athletes where they weren't looking at the camera, but they were talking as if they were talking to an interviewer about how they were overcoming obstacles. With, of course, John Tesh, inspirational music. I mean, it's fantastic. It's televised. It's doing all these things, but I just couldn't get into it. Why? I have some ideas, so stick around and let me know what your thoughts are. But I can think of 6 reasons why cyclocross really should be more popular. First of all, the permits. From putting on an event, a cyclocross race can be done at a local park. Gravel races would require massive amounts of permits. It's just got to cost more money to put them on. So I would think in America it'd be easier just to get permits for a local park. Number 2, gravel racing takes all day. A cyclocross race, less than an hour. The third is that cyclocross is relatively inexpensive. We're talking entry fees to get into the race as a racer. So you go do a race, it doesn't cost you that much. With gravel, it's very expensive. Number 4, from a spectator's point of view, a gravel race isn't that exciting to watch. With a cyclocross race, because they do multiple laps, if you have family there or friends, they can watch you at different parts of the course multiple times.
Adam! Good job, Adam!
You got fat.
Number 5, if you're really competitive, well then cyclocross is a very highly competitive sport. It scratches that competitive itch. Whereas gravel racing, I think that the majority of people that are doing gravel racing aren't really racing. It's more like a grand fondo, a party on a bike. The 6th reason why cyclocross should be more popular, there's more crashes. Does anybody watch NASCAR to watch the cars just go around in circles? No, you're there for the crashes. And from a cyclist point of view, the crashing in cyclocross really doesn't hurt because you're never really going that fast. You're more likely to crash on gravel, grass, sand, dirt, rather than concrete. So why isn't cyclocross just taking off? Here are my thoughts. Number 1, cycling has a love affair with distance. And it's very common for people who are not involved in cycling when you tell them that you entered a cyclocross race and they say, well, how long is the race? And you go, it's 45 minutes. And they go, well, how many miles? And you go, 9. And many people go, well, I can ride a bike for 45 minutes or 9 miles. That isn't very far. But if you tell people you did a 350-mile race in one day, that's pretty impressive. Ultimately, what's more impressive? Someone that runs a marathon or someone that runs 100 meters? I'm sure Usain Bolt has that problem as people go, hey, you won a gold. How far did you have to run? 100 meters? Well, that ain't very far. Anyone can run 100 meters, but it's how fast you run it, dumbass. So number 2, because of this love affair, ex-pros from Europe are coming to America and just kicking everybody's butt in these endurance events. The third reason is somehow or another, someone is extremely smart and somehow figured out how to get Mazda to sponsor this Grand Prix event. So now they've got big money, and the winner for the women and the men is $190,000 each. And that's divided up among all the races, but if someone feasibly could win all the races, they can have a $190,000 paycheck. That is big time. And that's why now when people talk about, oh, the UCI or money killed the spirit of gravel.
Hell yeah, it did. That's why they're using aero bikes for a gravel race. All these race bikes can accommodate wider tires because of the disc brakes. So now, other than a little bit of geometry, what's the difference between a road bike for racing and a gravel bike? That's why all these pros are using their normal race bikes. And when they first started doing this, the sponsors supposedly were like, no, we want you to use the gravel bike because that's what we're trying to sell. And they're like, look, if you want me to win, you need to let me use the equipment I want.
I personally would do anything it takes to earn $190,000. The fourth and final reason why I think gravel is so popular is because it's just simply new. It's something different in terms of racing, because this is how triathlons used to be. Here where I live, there used to be about 6 different triathlons that I used to enter back in my 30s. And now all those triathlons are essentially gone except for one, very similar to what might be happening with gravel. So ultimately, from an entertaining event, from a sporting event, I just don't understand why cyclocross is not more popular than gravel. From a cyclist perspective, and also from a person who could possibly watch and be entertained by cycling. Now, cyclocross exists all over our country, but here in Southern California, I have to say a big thank you, and thank God there at least is some cyclocross. It's run by one person, and she does an amazing job at putting on these events. The problem is when I go enter, and unfortunately I'm not racing this year because I had an injury, but when you do these events, a lot of times you're racing against maybe 5 or 6 people in your category. It's not a big thing. I think ultimately what needs to happen is we need to have a hero. We had Jeremy Powers in the past. We need an American to go to Europe and kick the butt of everybody there. And then they need charisma, they need to be good looking, and they need to come back to America and boom the sport. Much like a Pele did. This guy Ohtani for baseball is making baseball just huge in his country. We need another Lance Armstrong so we could put him on a pedestal and eventually try to tear him down. So maybe I'm off my rocker. Maybe it's because I'm in Southern California and there's other places where cyclocross is booming. If I've missed something, let me know in the comment section down below.